A close reading is something that can be conducted at any time by any person on any topic. A close reading is the mindful, disciplined reading of an object with a view to deeper understanding of the object's meanings. Today, I'll share a close reading of the children's picture book, The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore. Maybe you're unsure of why you should believe what I have to say on the subject of a close reading, and specifically one done on a children's book. One reason why I am qualified is because I am an education major, and in our education classes we learn to do and learn how to teach inferencing, which goes hand in hand with conducting a close read. With both things, you must look beyond what is written on the page and use author clues to draw a conclusion about deeper meanings. I am also an avid reader and have a great deal of experience in reading novels for pleasure and school, and have honed my abilities to look deeper at such texts as a result. Not to mention, I have a great deal of passion for reading, which I wish to share, and a wonderful and relatable book is the easiest way to do so and inspire others. On the other hand, my second major is communication studies, which directly deals with how to reach others and exchange information and ideas. This also gives me experience with some of the production aspects important to the short film created by Joyce. As for my love with reading, I have and always have had a love for the arts, making me understand and recognize the significant artistic aspects of this story, both the book and short film. Finally, I can perfectly relate to all of the various audience groups this is targeting, as I am a future educator, an adult who loves stories, and I work with, and like everyone, was once a kid. The idea of audience is something we will discuss more closely in a bit. Now let's take a moment to further discuss some background information about this book. It was written by William Joyce, who also aided Joe Bloom in illustrating. Joyce was born in 1957 and is currently 60 years old. He is an accredited American writer, illustrator, filmmaker, and Academy Award short film winner. Some of his other notable pieces of work include writing and creating the television show Roly Poly Oly, and writing the Guardians of Childhood series, which gives definitive stories to popular childhood fables. The Academy Award Joyce won was for the adaptation of the Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore into an animated short film of the same name. The book was published in February 2012, with the movie released on the same day. That same year, the animated short film won its Academy Award for Best Short Film. As far as inspiration for the story goes, it was heavily inspired by the events of Hurricane Katrina and the city of New Orleans. Joyce's very own mentor, William Morris, the HarperCollins children's book publisher, inspired the character of Mr. Morris Lessmore. Similarly, Buster Keaton, the silent film actor, inspired Lessmore's physical appearance and dress. The story itself is about one Mr. Morris Lessmore who loves words, stories, and books. One day, his life is turned upside down after a powerful storm carries him to another land, dreary and colorless. While there, he struggles to find meaning in his life again until he comes across a fantastical woman with a brigade of flying books, who is flushed with color. She then presents to him a single book in color that leads him to an amazing library, where he learns that the books need him as much as he needs them. He lives out the remainder of his days there, writing out the story of his life and finding meaning and joy and spreading it to others when possible. He takes care of the books until he becomes too old to do so, and then they, in turn, begin to take care of him. One day, after many years, he realizes it's his time to go, and he transforms into a young man once more before he leaves in the same manner he saw the woman leaving so many years before. The book finally concludes with the arrival of a young girl at the steps of the library, where she is greeted by the book Lessmore was shown writing his life story in all along. This is a text definitely worthy of study, especially for conducting a close read. For one, it is a perfect example of the iceberg effect, meaning there is so much more to the story beneath what is presented on the surface. This makes it an ideal text for a close read, as there is a plethora of things to discover by conducting one. This is also a great choice for a close read, as it is very current, being published only a couple of years ago, as well as because it was inspired and influenced by the events of Hurricane Katrina. There are also themes within the story that are highly relatable to people of all ages. The book, Techniques of Close Reading, is a great one for anyone interested in becoming an expert at close reading and looking to understand the various concepts and techniques associated with close readings. Two concepts mentioned in this book by Barry Brummett that closely relate to the fantastic flying books of Mr. Moore's Lessmore are that of tension and resolution and that of metaphor. Tension and resolution is what creates drama within a text, and that drama is what keeps the text interesting. Within this story created by Joyce, this takes the form of the upset that turned Morris's life upside down and the resolution of him finding his place amongst the books of the library, where he spends his time spreading the joy of reading and books to others. There are also other smaller conflicts within the story as well, such as the death or departure of Morris, which is resolved by the arrival of the young girl. A metaphor is a device for seeing something in the terms of something else, and is a central part of this story, relating directly to many of the themes apparent to the reader after a close reading. It is a very theme-heavy story with major themes like love, loss, books, healing, and still more than that. All of these themes are so relatable and are presented to the reader through the lens of Joyce's fantastical story. The theme of loss or death, for example, is presented through the leaving of both the women with the books and Lessmore's own departure, neither of whom seem to be dying, but it is evident when thinking of the use of a metaphor to convey the true meaning of something to the readers. A close reading of this story also reveals that there are several communication theories that relate to this story in a variety of ways. Muted group theory, for example, can be used to gain a deeper meaning of this text. This theory maintains that language serves dominant groups better than subgroups. This could mean men over women, or one race over another, or any number of things. When used as a lens for this close reading, however, it shows that this story serves men better than women and whites better than people of color. For one, this is evident because there are two female characters, and while it is important that their characters are there, it holds no value or meaning that they are women. They have essentially no part or role, especially when compared to the main character being a male who is the most significant of all. Furthermore, there are several visual cues that lead the reader to believe Morris begins in New Orleans, and yet he is represented as a white man, which is not an accurate representation of the population from the area. Not to mention, every single other character pictured is white as well. Another theory that can be used as a lens for this story is the symbolic interaction theory. This theory suggests that people are motivated to act based on the meanings they assign to people, things, and events. Furthermore, it says language allows people to develop a sense of self and to interact with others in the community. There are a great deal of aspects to this story where meaning is assigned through language and art. Meaning is clearly assigned to all of the books who originally appear in color, while Morris is still in black and white. Meaning is also assigned to people like the young woman and the little girl who give insight as to the cyclical nature of this world and life in general. One other important aspect is the meaning assigned to the upset in his life, which is symbolic of Hurricane Katrina. A final theory applicable to the fantastic flying books of Mr. Morris Lessmore is that of the uses and gratification theory. This theory explains why people choose and use certain media forms, since the media has a limited effect on audiences, because audiences are able to exercise control over their media. This theory is evident through Joyce's choice to publish the story as a picture book, where the reader is easily immersed into the story. Similarly, his choice to produce the story as a short animated film also allows for the suspension of disbelief from the audience. It is powerful that the story is told in the form of a book, as the story emphasizes books in many ways as well. A close reading of a book such as this would benefit many people, but especially educators, book lovers, and children. For educators, a close reading will allow them to share with children of all ages the wealth of knowledge available within these pages and the many lessons there are to learn. For individuals or book lovers, there are a lot of life lessons shared in this book that are valuable to an individual, even if that individual's intention is not to share or instruct others on all this book has to offer. Obviously, the target audience for the book is also children, and they can benefit by being taught how to close read at a young age, and this book could be modified to fit the learning needs of any child, whether in a school setting or not. That concludes my example of a close reading, which I hope has been insightful and inspiring in some way or another. Close reads are not as challenging as they may seem and primarily just require experience in taking the time to reread a text and to look deeper using a variety of lenses.